Hello friends, good morning. My name is Akash Sanjay Kubragade. I am a coordinator at Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge and PhD scholar at Delhi University. Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge is founded by Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara sir, and his idea behind this institution to provide academic spaces to scholars, professors, and doctors and social scientists who are engaged in the field of Dalit studies. Today, Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge going to have 41st lecture, and this lecture is a part of a series which we started on 14th of April 2025 on the Dr. Baba Sahab Ambedkar Jayanti. Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara is going to chair today's session. So I request Dr. Darshana Mishra to please welcome and introduce our today's chair, Professor Karunyakara sir. Darshana Mishra.
Thank you, Akash. I am Dr. Darshana Mishra and coordinator of Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge. I am giving introduce of chair. Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara is former Vice Chancellor and founder of Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge. He is author of The History of Dalit Identity and Modernization of Buddhism after completing his PhD from Jain, New Delhi. Dr. Karunyakara joined as assistant professor in the School of Ambedkar Studies, Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University, a Center University, Lucknow. He introduced the Dalit history course in the MA history program. He was instrumental in introducing 50% reservation for SC/ST students in the BBAU. Admissions, he founded Ambedkar University Dalit Students Union in 2000 and Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar Central University SC/ST Teachers Association in 2006. He joined as director cum professor in the Baba Saheb Ambedkar Sidhu Kanu Murmu Dalit and Tribal Studies Center, Mahatma Gandhi Antarashtriya Hindi Vishwavidyalaya. He held post of Dean of School of Culture and former Vice Chancellor of the University. This is brief introduction of the respected chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Darshana. I welcome Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara sir. Now,
Just 1 minute, Akash. I could see my good friend, Dr. Aruldas, Dr. Father Aruldas. So most welcome to you.
So thank you.
Yeah, we are honored to have you here.
Today I just wanted to make it because so far I was not able to make it, though I got the information. And today by all means, I decided to be a part of this discussion. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Akash, carry on.
Now I request Dr. Smita Bhagat to please welcome and introduce today's key speaker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akash. Actually, it's my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed honorable guest, Dr. Sartik Bagh, is a professor in the Department of Political Science, Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University, BBAU, Central University, Lucknow. He has been engaged in teaching and research for the last 25 years. Professor Bagh is a former head, Department of Political Science, BBAU, Lucknow. At present, he is director of Center for Study of Social Inclusion, BBAU, Lucknow. Professor Bagh has obtained his higher education, MA, MPhil, PhD from Center for Political Science, Political Studies, JNU, New Delhi. His research interests include educational and developmental issues related to the marginalized groups and backward region in India. He also has a keen interest in Indian politics and political theory, Western philosophy, particularly the concepts of social justice, multiculturalism, social democracy, and welfare state, and neoliberalism, etc. Professor Bagh has published a book on decentralizing education and community participation. His other book is in the press on food security, He has published several papers in peer-reviewed journals such as Man and Development, Indian Journal of Political Economy, Indian Journal of Politics, South Asian Journal of Socio-Political Studies, Man and Society, Indian Journal of Dalits and Tribal Studies. He has contributed chapters in edited books published by Routledge. He has also contributed many chapters on political theory for MA Political Science, IGNOU, New Delhi. He is presently working on an edited book on first generation learners in higher education, memories, and experiences. He has completed major research projects on educational status of scheduled caste in Uttar Pradesh, achievements and challenges sponsored by ICSSR New Delhi, and an international research project on real estate sector and rural migration, a study of Lucknow in collaboration with Stockholm University, Sweden. He has served in important committee of ICSSR New Delhi. He is also recipient of National Rural Talent Scholarship and Research Fellowship by UGC New Delhi. He has additional responsibilities also, Nodal Officer, E-Samadhan UGC Portal, Chairman University Ethics Committee. We are truly honored to have such an renowned scholar and intellectual among us. So, being a coordinator, I heartily welcome you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. Professor Sartik Bagh sir going to deliver our 41st of lecture, and his topic will be an Ambedkar on political representation. Now I request Professor Bagh to please deliver his lecture.
In the beginning, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Karunyakara sir for inviting me to deliver a lecture on today's topic. I'm thankful to you and your organization, and basically, of course, thankful for your kind introduction about me, your generous introduction about me. Today I'll speak on Ambedkar on political representation. Here I will speak about his ideas, his concept on political representation. I will not go into my topic today will be Ambedkar on political representation, and here I will speak about his ideas, his concept of political representation in the context of India. I will not go into the activism part, but political representations happen to be the central pillar for Ambedkar, and in all his career, this was one key factor which he fought for and advocated in various commissions and roundtable conference. So I'll just restrict myself to his ideas, his concept of political representation. I set aside the political side, how he pursued it, but whatever he has talked about on political representation, definitely that was the key motto in entire of his political life. So I'll begin with the idea by Ambedkar that only in a democracy, what you call human dignity and fulfillment is possible. Only in a democracy. So, but the human dignity and fulfillment is not available to all the members of the society unless they are also part of the political community. So, human dignity is possible, human fulfillment is possible for the people of the community when they are also part of the political community. In India, this is one irony, this is one contradiction. Okay, so there are different identities in India, there are different social groups in India. They are excluded from what you call political community and become political community. Part of a political community is the necessary condition to realize or to attain what we call human dignity and human fulfillment in the society. And this was the central reason. This was the central reason Ambedkar thought can be attained through representation. So to attain representation, to realize, human dignity, fulfillment, recognition, self-respect, what is needed at the moment is representation. It is only through representation the central or core aspect of human being can be realized. So representation is the bedrock of a constitutional democracy, indispensable for fair functioning of the institution. When you talk about representation, actually it indicates the index of political participation in the society. When you talk about political representation, actually it indicates the extent of democracy that prevails in the society. And in this context, disadvantaged or depressed classes or the untouchable, they have a greater share in the society because these are the people who have been placed, at a lower of the society, and they faces huge disadvantage in the society. So representation will benefit more to the excluded, depressed classes or the untouchables of the country. Ambedkar says that the franchise through which representation is decided in modern times, in modern society, should not be confined merely to those who can be expected to make intelligent use of it. Ambedkar is not in favor of this very criteria because in his time, these are the colonial time, and the logic behind representation was based on the fact that it should be made available to those persons who can use it intelligently. This is something Ambedkar did not agree with. So Ambedkar advocated for different criteria to be followed for the different groups of the society. There are unequal groups in the society, so same criteria for the representation should not be imposed on all groups. So he believed that representation reflects the fair measures of political society, political community. All should be given representation, and more so, minority should find adequate and effective say in public life to ensure their equal voice. Representation is important. Universal adult franchise is important. More so, the minorities, their adequate voice, their representation also equally important according to Ambedkar. He emphasized the minorities should have equal voice in the society. So equal voice is the central theme about the representation, about the political representation to address different social constituency differently. Okay. In this context, I like to bring to your notice the distinction that Ambedkar has made. Ambedkar has made a distinction between representation of opinion and personal representation or representation of person. As of now, that is reflecting his own contemporary time, as of now, actually society or polity has followed representation of opinion, not the personal representation or representation of person. So in the representation of opinion, what happens is that basically the representative, the elected representatives are drawn from the majority community. Okay. So when the when the elected representatives are drawn from the majority community, it doesn't ensure that that will speak for the common good of the society, that will speak for the others in the society. So these are the lacuna, these are the shortcoming. In this frame, that is representation of opinion, it is more likely, and and given the tendency of the electorate to cast their vote to a person belonging to their caste and community, the extent to which a representative uphold common interest is very, very suspect. Where the elected representatives are drawn from a particular community, it is difficult to say that that representative will carry with him the notion of common interest for all. So instead of this instead of representation of opinion, Ambedkar actually advocated for representation of person. In the representation of person frame, what will happen is that the representative will be drawn from the diverse social groups, who are still now excluded, marginalized. So he rather emphasized for personal representation. He rather emphasized for representation of person in the electoral system. And this is very indispensable to the disadvantaged community of the country, because Ambedkar thought that certain grievances, certain problems, certain concerns can be better represented by their elected representative of the community. So that is the reason that he emphasized to the great extent to go for or adopt personal representation, because he has justified this very idea that the elected representatives should be drawn from the diverse community groups, because it will enhance the communities, the excluded communities, their number in the public arena. Okay, then unless this will happen, suppose this doesn't happen, representation of person idea doesn't happen, what will happen is that the community, excluded community, marginalized community, Dalit, untouchable, or the depressed class will remain under the subjugation of the dominant community or the social majority. So to overcome that dominance of social majority in the society, we should go for what we call representation of person framework. Okay, so it will help. Ambedkar, in his argument, he said that this idea will give people the political agency to fight for them. It will give the scope where in the public space, both the excluded group and the dominant group, the social majority group, will face each other. They will come to know each other. There will be interaction, and that will also enrich and enlighten the dominant caste. So he find the reason why should we go for such a frame based on representation of person, because representatives coming from different social background, more so from excluded, Dalit, different classes, that will actually enhance, that will enrich the public discourse, and the dominant caste will come to know what the suffraged people think about. Ambedkar, in his lifetime, often referred to the refusal of caste Hindu to acknowledge the condition of untouchable. Because caste Hindu, Ambedkar said that caste Hindu, they oppose uh, separate electorate for them or their representation in politics because they have no fair idea about the untouchable, the depressed. They never visit their locality, they never interact. So how come where there is a common place to know about this community which has suffered for the century? So emphasizing representation of person where representatives are being drawn from the various diverse social communities, disadvantaged communities, it will help to enrich and enlighten the so-called advanced community, social majority about the issues and problems being faced by untouchable. After this, he goes on to point out what are the basis of representation because first it is significant. He talked about the significance of representation, political representation. Then he talks about the basis of representation. Who is entitled to vote? Who is entitled to vote and who should be regarded as the authentic representative? Okay. So in this context, who is entitled to vote and who should be regarded as authentic representative. In this context, Ambedkar had argued for universal adult franchise. Ambedkar he vehemently argued before the Simon Commission in 1928. In 1928, I think he must be the foremost person to talk this language of universal adult franchise at this moment in 1928. Okay. So when he argued for universal adult franchise for everyone in the country, actually he departed from both colonial frame of representation and also what the nationalists, held out as the model. Okay. Because both colonial administration and the nationalist, Indian nationalists, they rather wanted limited franchise in the country. Okay, limited franchise in the country. So by giving importance to supermost position to universal adult franchise, he wanted to bring home the importance of universal adult franchise because it gives everyone the equal worth. It makes it makes everyone important. It makes everyone to realize that every member of the political community has the ability to decide what is good for him or herself. And this universal adult franchise, which Ambedkar very passionately, advocated and fought for it, stand for, you know, stand for a look forward to a situation where every person will assume their responsibility for his action and every person will be held responsible or accountable to the people who they govern. So this was a very revolutionary kind of argument or the idea he advocated at this point where both colonial administration and the Indian nationalists they did not cover this idea till now, the idea of universal adult franchise. And most suitable for the poor and oppressed because they are the ones who are extremely subjugated to the terms of what we call associated life. which are imposed by the superior social forces in the society, and which is very much unfavorable to the poor and marginalized. Okay. So in the colonial time, the franchise was limited. It was based on community, it was based on class, property, and literacy. Ambedkar thought that this Ambedkar wanted to revise the benchmark of representation. He wanted to revise the benchmark or criteria of representation and advocated for extending franchise to the different classes, untouchable in the society. Okay. At this time, there was an argument going on that why we go for universal adult franchise at this moment, where the advanced country, America or Great Britain, they never still now have adult franchise, and particularly it was true about Britain. So, but Ambedkar argued that slow progress of franchise in Britain cannot be applied to deny the same to lower section of Indian society. In the colonial administration, this was one thing preoccupied, that in Britain there is very slow progression towards franchise. So why we should give franchise to all at one go? So this was also one notion which was prevailing in Ambedkar's time, and Ambedkar, he rejected it. He did not support this idea that franchise should be very slow. So then he also said that limited franchise, which was still the norm, actually bolster or enhance the power of some community at the expense of others. He argued against limited franchise, because limited franchise will only empower some communities at the expense of others. Okay, so there is little justification. To apply the criteria of property and literacy as entitlement for the franchise. Okay, two criteria which actually considered for franchise, for the entitlement of franchise: criteria of property and criteria of literacy. And Ambedkar rejected both of them. Okay, because property, okay, person with property is entitled to both, but Ambedkar says that a person may have large property. It doesn't mean that he has intelligence also. At the same time, a person may be very poor. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have intelligence. So he rejected this criteria of property as very flimsy, unscientific, unfounded logic. At the same time, he also argued that literacy cannot be regarded as right criteria for franchise. Literacy was also one major criteria for franchise, and that time we can imagine now the percentage of literacy among different classes, untouchables or minorities. So he rejected the criteria of literacy also. So an illiterate person is not necessarily an unintelligent person. Ambedkar said that someone is not literate doesn't mean that he is not intelligent. So he opposed property and literacy criteria for the franchise, because this will lead to narrow franchise. Invariably, that will hand public power to an oligarchy. Okay, if franchise remain restricted, if franchise is very narrow, it will always invite the monopoly of the oligarchy in the society. Okay, because oligarchy or the rich class of people, they will never pay attention. They will never bother to remove uh, illiteracy of the masses. They will not bother to tax them for the education of masses. So both criteria he rejected thoroughly because it doesn't stand any scientific scrutiny. Then he talked about whether we should go for majority rule and what will be the status of minority in this scheme of majority rule. Okay, in liberal tradition or in liberal democracy, you can say majority support or majority rule is considered as the measure of rule or the basis of public power. This is so far the framework, liberal framework of representation. Okay, so in this framework, the majorities and minorities are basically the political construct. Okay, today the majority maybe yesterday, maybe tomorrow's minority, and today's minority maybe tomorrow's majority. So it is political construct and it is in a fluid condition. Okay, it keeps on changing. So, but what's happened is that suppose we follow the liberal model of majority rule. Okay, majority rule or political majority. And if this majority has also very closely connected with social majority, then this idea of majority rule is not going to address much, not going to benefit much to the minorities or the deprived. Okay. He gives the idea that when we talk about majority, and this majority is the pale reflection of social majority. We have political majority which we witnessed after the election. At the same time, there is also a community already in the society that we call social majority. And this social majority, the social majority claimed the right to wield political power on the basis that it is the most numerous. Okay. He bring home the danger in this idea, in this formula of majority rule. Majority rule is fine, but it also resembles with social majority. Eh. So in society, when you call political majority or majority rule, it also means the rule of the social majority. This was his biggest fear. Okay, this is also a dangerous thing. So, under social majoritarianism, minority, disadvantaged groups, depressed classes, they are placed under the perpetual subjugation of majority of another community. When you have already social majority in the society, then it is possible, more likely, that minority will be placed under the perpetual subjugation of the another community, which is the social majority. Okay, so social majority is projected as political majority, and that is the major challenge to the democratic principle, according to Ambedkar. So, because this political majority, which is very much assimilated with social majority, will never reflect what you call common good or common interest, because only political community which addresses the concerns and interests, problems and grievances of the diverse social communities, then only there can be common good. So on the ground of common good, the idea of majority rule is not going well, because other classes, other groups, they are not taken into they are not taken into the very frame of common interest or common good. So there are society, there are identities, there are various identities, and those identities are outside the domain of political majority, and the political majority doesn't actually raise which we call common interest. And for that, the other group will suffer in the society. So we have political majority on one hand, which is assimilated with social majority, and on the other hand, we have other social groups, depressed classes, untouchable, lower caste people, minorities. What will happen? What will happen in this situation? Because we have one social groups and there are many minorities, many deprived social groups, and there is no socially, there is no interaction, there is no interaction, there is no shared interest. So in that case, when there is no shared interest among the community, between majority community and the minority, there is very little interaction. In that situation, we cannot say that majority rule or political majority represent the entire interest, entire will of the society or general. So what will happen if this is the situation in the society? Majority, political majority is identified with social majority, and there are vast many minority social groups outside, then it would allow the communal majority, it would allow the social majority to decide what is good for minority in the society. It will make the majority community a governing class and the minority community a subject race. Okay. And this system cannot be called democracy. Ambedkar said that this is imperialism. This is imperialism. Because the majority rule is not reflecting the common interest, not reflecting the interest of the people who are perpetually excluded, subjugated. Okay. Then this will not be democracy. This will not be called democracy. Rather, this will be imperialism. So, as a post-colonial alternative, Congress was actually seeking a scheme of representation which was very much similar to liberal dispensation of political majority and minority. Congress of the time also wanted a similar representation which Ambedkar actually thoroughly argued and rejected by saying that such kind of majority rule or minority concept will keep minority and other disadvantaged groups at the at, at the at the margin of the society. But Congress was very much interested in that. So Congress wanted couple of things. So far representation idea was concerned, Congress wanted elected legislature based on territorial representation, territorial constituency. Congress wanted executive drawn from the majority party in the legislature, and Congress wanted administration run by civil services based solely on efficiency. Okay, so Congress scheme of representation assume that majority of voters in a constituency represent the will of the constituency as a whole, and the will of the minority can be ignored. This was Congress scheme. This is what Congress also pursued and believed in. Okay. The majority of voters in the constituency represent the will of the constituency as a whole, and the will of minority can be ignored. This is a very, very dangerous idea, but this was called national scheme. Congress plan or Congress scheme was also called national scheme, and it boiled down to the idea that common good is the will of the majority and nothing more. Common good means, common interest means that is the will of the majority and nothing more, nothing beyond that. So it did not consider that majority will may be at odds with the common good. Congress did not think along this line. And the representative who is elected may have little sensitivity toward the wishes and interests of the voters who belong to the minority or the excluded social groups like Dalit and untouchable. Okay. So this was not there in the mind of Congress or not there in the mind of the colonial administration. But in the context of untouchable, in the context of depressed classes as a minority, this sounds very, very difficult to accept, the idea of majority rule. Because Ambedkar said that no caste Hindu in election, no caste Hindu will cast vote in favor of an untouchable candidate. However, there will be many voters among the untouchable who would willingly cast their vote even against untouchable candidates because of the reverence to the caste Hindus. Okay. If this is the case, then you can imagine where you can place the idea where the idea of majority and minority manifesting on the ground. So context, in such context, Dalits will not be voted by the caste Hindus. So, and the untouchable will also not vote to their untouchable candidate. So, in such context, territorial constituency, which Congress advocated as the sole mode of representation, cannot be justified. When in election, the candidate who belong to untouchable classes or depressed class are not voted by the caste Hindu or the Dalit or the depressed class, they also don't vote to the untouchable candidate in the election. Then how can we justify territorial constituency? That was the question raised by Ambedkar. So, if we go ahead with this idea without modification or revision, it will look like a tool to concentrate power in the hand of the majority. If you don't look at the other side, other problems of this idea of majority rule, then it will allow a caste, allow the dominant forces, social forces in the society to concentrate power in their own hand. So, at this point, Ambedkar thought that it is important to deconstruct the claims to political majority. Political majority represent the common interest, talk about the interest of everyone. These claims should be now deconstructed. Ambedkar emphasized. So, because of that, precautions are needed against the abuse of power where the Dalit, untouchable, depressed classes, other minorities remain excluded from the very political process. I'll just touch another two aspects about Ambedkar on political representation, then wind up. So now he talked about what should be the scheme of representation if you have problem with territorial constituency, if you have a problem with the very idea of majority rule, problem of minority in such a political setup, then what should be the scheme of representation? What should be the scheme of representation appropriate for the Dalit in the society? He said that separate representation is appropriate when you have multiple identities in the society, which includes Dalit, minorities. Okay. And this, it is appropriate. Separate electorate or separate representation is appropriate when the society have large identities. And these identities are of a relatively permanent nature, embedded not merely in religion, but also in history, tradition, culture, personal laws, social custom, and usages. When there are multiple identities which are embedded in history, tradition, culture, then the state should go for separate representation. Because in this in this in this case, because there are multiple identities and these identities are embedded. These identities are, close identity, close identity. These identities do not interact with other major identity of the society. So when there is no common social tie among the different identity or the disadvantaged groups vis-a-vis the majority group, then there cannot be the sense of sociability or what Ambedkar said, endosmosis. There cannot be endosmosis among the various groups, identities that we come across in the society. In this case, when there are various identity and one social majority, one strong social force, in that case, either the social majority will deny the existence of the minorities or the Dalits or the untouchable, or the social majority may display a deep prejudice, even hostility towards them. Okay. So in such scenario, okay, in a compartment, in such a compartment, majority group exclusively different and other minority groups, including Dalit, they are exclusively different at the margin. So in such scenario, to offer joint electorate to minority with majority, even with reservation of some seat, will not affect the dominance of the majority. Maybe government, maybe the state will provide, representation to minority, Dalit, and so on the basis of some reservation in some seat. In that case also, it will not actually affect the dominance of the majority. So what is the problem with the joint electorate? What is the problem with the joint electorate, which Congress also advocated? Because the problem is that in the unreserved constituency, the majority can simply ignore. In the unreserved constituency, the majority can simply ignore the minority. And in reserved constituency, a minority candidate cannot win election without the support of the majority. This will be the major problem. Okay. In unreserved constituency, majority can simply ignore the minority. But in the reserved constituency, minority cannot. Minority that includes Dalit also here. So in the reserved constituency, minority, including Dalit, cannot win election without the support of the majority in the society. Majority here, it is meant to the dominant social forces. Okay. Representative from minorities marginalized or subjugated. To overcome that problem, he proposed for or he advocated the idea of separate electorate for minority, including depressed class or untouchable. So why we need separate electorate? That point is very much clear. So in this separate electoral system, the minority or the Dalit or untouchable, they will get two vote. One vote for the general constituency and other one for the constituency allotted to them. Other for the separate electoral constituency. The very idea of this, separate electorate was for Ambedkar to provide adequate representation to the minority. Okay. And this way, their interest can be better protected and democracy will not be in a danger. So this idea, that point of time, appeared to be very, very revolutionary. Okay. Now, when you are talking about, when you are different classes, they also emphasize, made it very clear that it is important to distinguish between different minorities. Okay. And all of them do not necessarily need the same safeguard and to the same extent. Okay. There are different minorities and the idea of safeguard should be, should vary according to the level of, according to their standing in the society. So he prescribed some criteria, he talked about some criteria to follow which minority will be provided more safeguard, more protection. Okay. And in case of Dalit, Ambedkar thought that the untouchables or the displaced class, they will not merely be treated as minority or a Dalit. They are more than minority. They should get more safeguard compared to other minorities in the society. Ambedkar believed that this will not harden social divisions. Ambedkar believed that this will not lead to fragmentation of nation. I just like to tell you that this was the major contention for which Gandhiji went on, passed on to that protest, So Gandhiji said that Ambedkar is advocating for separate electorate for scheduled caste, for untouchable. But the fact is that scheduled caste are not minority. Gandhiji objected. Scheduled caste are not minority, but Ambedkar is saying that scheduled caste also minority. Gandhiji said that scheduled caste are Hindus, therefore they cannot have separate electorate. Scheduled caste are part of Hindu society, so they cannot have separate electorate system as it was decided for Muslims. The separate electorate will perpetuate untouchability. This was another argument by Gandhi. Separate electorate are anti-national. Separate electorate system enables British imperialism to influence the communities having separate electorate to act against their interest of the community. The 4-5 point, raised by Gandhi against the idea of separate electorate system, which was pursued, vehemently pursued by Ambedkar, but on each argument, Ambedkar actually responded to each question or argument given by Gandhiji. Okay, but unfortunately, that did not prevail. And in the last moment, because of certain compelling circumstances, the idea was withdrawn. Okay, the idea was withdrawn. Because frightened Ambedkar thought that we should withdraw with the idea of separate electoral system. But His idea was that how to forge a nation, where there are fragmentation, social divisions, hard identity, higher, lower kind of thing. So he thought this is the best one. Separate electorate system was the best one to build a nation, to forge a nation. Because in this scheme, in this frame of separate electorate for Dalit, actually it will give Dalit a chance. It will give Dalit a chance to address their own interest to a great extent. So, but he said that when the government is there, the government should also take the confidence of minorities. He advocated separate electorate. At the same time, he said the given the nature of social closure that Indian society had, social closure where one caste doesn't speak to other caste. It is the caste is closed from all sides, social closure. So in the context of social closure, when you have a phenomena of this kind, social closure, the executive cannot be merely based on legislative majority. It should enjoy the confidence of minorities also. This was also one aspect Ambedkar actually talked about. The idea of separate electorate, I find it very fascinating in the sense that this idea, separate electorate idea, it was sort of check and balance, very much similar to doctrine of separation of power in America. Okay, because separation of power ensures that absolute power is not concentrated in the organ of the state. No absolute power should be concentrated in any one organ of the state. And similarly, separate electorate also plays this role because weightage to the minorities or the separate electorate ensure that a communal majority doesn't rule the roost. Okay. To prevent the monopoly, perpetuation of power by a single social dominant force, he thought that separate electorate is the best because it will dilute that monopoly. It will break that monopoly enjoyed by a specific social force in the society. So now he also, of course, talked about joint representation. He first advocated for this idea of separate electoral system in the country, but he also talks about joint representation. But he says that society where there is greater social trust, greater mutual trust, and sense of belonging, in that case, joint representation, joint electorate with reservation to minorities is very appropriate. Another idea he has in mind. Okay. So this is the idea which can be conducive, possible in an ideal condition. The ideal condition is that because till now the society is closed, till now we are suffering from social closure, caste division, and so on. But suppose there is, greater mutual trust among the social groups. There is sense of belonging among all the social groups. In that ideal condition, I think joint representation with reserved seats in some constituency will be appropriate one for Ambedkar. So, if some change in the society where people are sharing, interacting, then there is a conducive condition for joint electorate system. So it indicates some broad consensus When the society has a broad consensus on values such as human dignity, freedom, equality, and democracy, if society has achieved a broader consensus on these values of human dignity, on the values of freedom, equality, and democracy, then it is right time to go for joint electoral system or joint representation with reservation. His last idea, I would like to tell very short. His last idea about the quality of representation. Quality of representation. It doesn't end up with all the ideas he has passed on to us, and all the ideas on which he actually fought for life. He ends with the idea of representation with one aspect, that is quality of representation. Representation is fine, but more important also quality of representation. Ambedkar did not agree that education should be the criteria to be a representative. In democracy, in liberal tradition, whatever name we call, he did not agree the criteria of formal education to become a representative. Ambedkar says that a representative requires two things. One is gyan, knowledge, and other is skill, character. Gyan without skill is very dangerous, or knowledge without character is very dangerous. And he thought skill, no, Ambedkar, to Ambedkar, skill means something which is expressed in character, moral courage, ability to be independent of any kind of temptation, truthful to one's idea. Okay, these are the skill, character. So the person who is going to be a representative, or the person who is going to be elected as representative, must possess both gyan and character. More so, he emphasized the character aspect. Any representative who is entering the legislature must possess high degree of character, high degree of skill. So much before the idea which became the talk of public discourse in modern time, Ambedkar has already spoken this idea. But this idea means ethics, ethics in politics, ethics in politics. So he emphasized the quality of representation. He emphasized the quality of representation. So many of his ideas, mostly sometimes we come across writing, many writings, and a few years ago there was a paper writing by Sukhduk Thorat. He expressed his concern to relook at the idea of separate electorate for Dalit in present context. So the idea which he floated long back now find some expression, manifestation, because in the present context the representation of Dalit, the representation of minorities are, I will call it is under cloud, heavy cloud. In spite of number of representatives from the community, very few raise the issues of Dalit or Adivasi. If you take RTI, information from Parliament, how many MP who belong to Dalit or Adivasi have raised the questions of Dalit and Adivasi in the Parliament. So the data will not be very encouraging, will not be very pleasing for us. So we may rethink it, at least in the public discourse. The idea of separate electorate must be discussed to find some merit in that argument. So with this I conclude. and thank you so much for your passion sharing. This is what I could not bring my PPT, so that was the limitation of my lecture. But thank you for your passion sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for delivering such a wonderful lecture to all of us. Now I request Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara, sir, for chair remarks.
Professor Sartik Bagh uh, is very much known to me since the days of my JNU. And Sartik, if I am not wrong, you belong to Orissa. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah. Professor Sartik originally belonged to Orissa, and he was my junior in JNU, and very active. And I am happy to see Professor Sartik to be with us today. And it's a very fantastic topic you have selected. And many people joined your lecture across the country. And many professors are there, academics are there, many many people who are involved in the social work. Many people are there. So I wish that this lecture certainly helped us to improve our knowledge with regard to the Ambedkar position on political representation. Thank you, Professor Sartik, once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Leela Karunyakara, sir. Now, this forum is open for question answers. Those who want to ask questions specifically related to today's topic only, please go ahead. Please raise your hands and please go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon.
Yeah,
Hello.
Sukesh Singh. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for sir very insightful thoughts regarding the Ambedkar relevancy. I am from Dr. Rishikesh from Nagaland University, sir.
Okay.
Sir, as you know that Dr. Ambedkar
Dr.
vision
Dr.
was...
Rishikesh, could you open your video? That would be more, easy to access to each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah.
Like, happy to see you, sir, Professor Sartik, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I am also alumni from BBAU, Lucknow.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Like, sir, Dr. Ambedkar vision regarding to the if you more participation in the democracy, then you can fulfill the need or you can develop your own community, means any suppressed society. Whether the present scenario, like people's having a participation, is still the present participation in the democracy, they fulfill the representation of Dr. Ambedkar vision.
Professor Sardik, could you take the few questions before you attempt the answer? Yeah. Yeah. Next, there is a Professor Ravi Kumar is waiting. He's a former, Professor Ravi Kumar. Is that Professor Ravi Kumar? One hand. Yeah, Professor Ravi Kumar. Yeah, he's also from BBAU. Yeah. Both of you guys are, deans and HODs of different departments. Yeah, good to see both of you. Yeah, please carry on. Professor Ravi Kumar.
You are our guru, by the way. And I would like to thank Professor Karunyakara for organizing such a wonderful forum, first of all. And then would like to see many more lectures. Very fascinating lectures he has been arranging. I mean, I think we must appreciate him. I would also like to thank and appreciate Professor Sartik Bagh for again deliberating upon very useful topic, Ambedkar from political representation perspective. I have a humble observation. It's not a question. Having listened to the entire discourse of Professor Sartik Bagh, I think somewhere, if you look at the whole idea of democracy, representation, as formulated by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, I think his theory is very closely linked with the post-Marxist theory of radical democracy. See, the proponents of radical democracy, we are aware, Laluku and then Chantal and then even Habermas. So what they say that communism is not possible, but at the same time, democracy could be made more radical. What I mean to say that, as formulated by post-Marxist theories, radical democracy, I think it's a remarkably resembles Ambedkar's insights into democracy. That's what I'm referring to. For example, when you talk about real, genuine democracy in India, what Ambedkar contemplated, apart from representation, apart from measures, protecting measures in the constitution, what you need is a subject, a Dalit subject, which is argumentative, which is a kind of, willing to have a very constructive dialogue, and then a Dalit who is capable of participating in the public life. I think this was the vision, Professor Sartik Bagh, what I feel Ambedkar was visualizing, if at all democracy to be succeeded in India. For example, you mentioned Ambedkar preferred for adult franchise, universal adult franchise. I would like to know from you that, when you are giving voting rights to large section of the people, I think, Ambedkar must have contemplated, how a citizen should be, especially a citizen from lower sections of the Dalits, because radical democracy proposes that unless and until a citizen is active, unless until citizen is articulative, unless and until a citizen is demanding, the oligarchy-based democracies, nowadays they're ruling the roost, the oligarchy-based democracies are, corporative sector-driven democracies right now all over the world. I think they will not listen, absolutely. They will not pay any attention to the demands and the needs of the citizens like, Dalits. And moreover, I would like to conclude by saying one more observation, that nowadays what is happening, everyone knows that, again, you have to rely on radical democracy theory. Now, most of the corporate-driven government, democratic governments nowadays, what they're doing, they are floating a symbolic representation, symbolic gestures. For example, they are giving some posts to Adivasi, Dalit communities, not only everywhere in the world, and they're, thereby creating a discourse that democracy is catering to the needs of all these marginalized sections. But practically what is happening, I think we are aware, and practically constructive programmatic things are not happening at ground level. I think somewhere or other, Ambedkar's radical democratic view has to be brought back into the contemporary situation. I don't know why many Ambedkarite scholars are unwilling to do this. They are very happy to relegate Ambedkar to kind of a very established discourse that is a messiah of Dalits, is a messiah of oppressed. That's fine. Having said that, I think it's a time for Ambedkar scholars like you, Professor Sartik, because you have done a lot of work on Ambedkar. I think it's a high time for Ambedkar scholars to project Ambedkar's radical vision, the way citizens could be made more argumentative, the way citizens should be made proactive into the participatory democracy rather than being very happy with the symbolic measures and in a token kind of policy measures that were adopted by the present regimes. Therefore, I would like to know from you how we can make Ambedkar more fruitful, more engaged by the way of making him as a Gramscian idea. I'm using common sense, because the radical democratic process should become common sense among the Dalit masses. I think this is one of the very potential fixes we can deploy and adopt for bringing about a qualitative change in the active participatory citizenry of Dalits and Adivasis and all other marginal sections. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity, Professor Karunyakara ji. Thank you.
Professor Ravikumar. There is one my good friend, Dr. Father Aruldas from Tamil Nadu. Okay. I hope Father Aruldas, Dr. Aruldas, you are putting up Chennai or Madurai, which place?
Right now I am in Tirunelveli, Palangotai.
Tirunelveli, Palangotai. Please carry on.
One more hand is there. Kran, he has got a question to make. There's a hand. Or shall I go ahead?
Sir, you go ahead first.
Okay. So, first of all, I am very happy to see all of you together today. For your information, Dr. Karunyakara and myself, we were classmates, MA History in the Madras Christian College, Tambaram, Chennai. So we were very friends. And I have visited him when he was there in Delhi, JNU and all. So I am I'm Father Aruldas. I'm a priest, Roman Catholic priest. I was teaching just a introduction about me, so that you can. The first time I'm just coming into contact with you all. I have my doctorate in history, and I was teaching history at St. Joseph's College, our college, in Trichy, Tamil Nadu. Got retired. Now again, I'm teaching here in St. Xavier's College, Palayamkottai. Here we have our college, where I'm teaching in the Department of Archaeology. We just started a department of Archaeology just last year. So I'm here. Okay, with this regard to this topic today, so I am very grateful to Dr. Sartik Bagh for his extensive lecture on today's topic. It's good. Now, my intervention today, I think it's more of a practical in the sense. We all of us know what the idea of Dr. Ambedkar also separate electorate. Which was not able to be successful, and it resulted in a reservation, what we have today. Now, in the present scenario of reservation, we do have Dalit representatives in assembly as well as in the parliament. But we know for sure that they are not really representatives of Dalit community. They are representatives of their particular concerned parties, political parties. Now, this intellectual forum, headed and led by Dr. Karunyakara, is there a possibility that to unite, to get in touch with all the representatives of our community, Dalit community? Is there a possibility? Why not that we try to separate them and bring them together and then give the idea of Ambedkar? So those people are just representing their political party, not our Dalit ideology. They are in the parliament as well as in the assembly. So I'm just thinking, since we have taken already a stand forward, will there be a possibility, or is there a possibility to at least unite, get in touch, get connected, like this as we are gathered now for this lecture? Why not we just get connected with those representatives, and then just to let us talk to them. Are they really representatives of Dalit community, or they are their own practical, their political, they are bound by their political, but can they represent Dalit cause in the assembly and the parliament? This is my question. Can we do anything about that?
That is actually the question which Dr. Aruldas posed. It seems to be to the organizers, not to the speaker. So let me briefly intervene that. Yes, it's very highly appreciated. Your very valid input you have given. That it's well taken. Your the idea. However, Dr. Aruldas, this is, as you rightly said, it's in a gathering of intellectuals. Mainly the object of this KIDK, that Dalit Knowledge Institute, is that since we have this online technology, why can't we have interactions with for your kind information, allow me to bring to your kind notice that on this platform only intellectual scholars from the Dalit background are invited. Dalit and Adivasi, at the most Adivasi. So we are not inviting, it's a deliberate conscious decision not to invite others for the simple reason, it's not that we want to avoid others. For the simple reason is that there are many platforms that provide opportunities to many. But throughout life, my experience is that we even our mic is given to somebody else. I went to one meeting where almost all gathering full of audiences from Dalit, majority of them were Dalits were sitting in the auditorium, and organizers were Dalits only. They spent their money, energy, everything, mobilization, and they invited one chief guest who is non-Dalit. And that guy was a Brahmin scholar. He was delivering a lecture on what is Ambedkar, what the Dalit lives, what the Dalit issues. I felt it's very absurd. So then, that's what, I felt, we need to give an opportunity to the scholars who are organic and who could ventilate very authentic, views. So that's the main, intention of this KIDK. And as far as your, proposal is concerned, yes, it's a very, very, valid proposal. One could do it. I hope that in future, when more and more intellectuals, when they connect with this our initiative, certainly that should be a logical end actually. See, after all, our intellectual efforts, finally it has to be shaped into the form of a policy decisions. So policy decisions who will take, it's a policy makers, lawmakers, and MLA, MPs, the political representatives are lawmakers. So Dalit and Adivasi lawmakers, certainly we intellectuals need to interact with them with our own ideas. So this is well taken, your idea. I wish that we will work it over it. I hope that in near future we will do that. Sure. But for time being, let us continue with this intellectual effort. And I am happy to inform you that this is the one and only platform in the whole India that provides a regular every Saturday without any interruption. Since last year, that's Ambedkar Jayanti 2025, we have started. And almost all, I'm happy to make a note here that I'm happy to inform you, all of you, all highly eminent professors, eminent academicians from reputed universities deliver lectures on very important topics. So since Dr. Aruldas, first time he is associating with us today, so I'm happy to inform him. That's why I have taken this much. Once again, I'm thankful to Dr. Aruldas for his valid intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. One more last question you can take, Akash, from Dr. Kiran, I think.
Dr. Kiran, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, sir, congratulations. Very nice presentation, sir. I am Dr. Kiran Kumre. I am an assistant professor, Center for Dalit and Tribal Studies from MGHAD, Wardha, Maharashtra. Sir, Dalit and Adivasi people get political representation due to SC/ST political reservation. Many Dalit and Adivasi MLA and MP becoming even minister. The actual problem is after getting elected, Dalit and Adivasi MLA and MP don't fight for the Dalit and Adivasi right. They work for others. My question is that when representation for reservation has become ineffective to protect Dalit and Adivasi right, what should be the course correction we need to do to bring SC/ST political representatives more accountable to the Dalit and Adivasi communities? Please comment on it. And second question is, what is the exactly separate electoral area in Ambedkar context? Could you explain, sir? That is my 2 questions. Thank you.
So briefly, I'll respond to Dr. Rishikesh and Ravikant. So sorry, Professor Ravi, Dr. Rishikesh and Professor Ravi. So Ravi, also Ravi's question, I think observation, even in our day-to-day conversation, such idea come to our mind that he had got very prolific ideas, and those ideas should be revived in the present time. To my understanding, this is the time of revivalism. Suppose new liberalism also a revivalism. Whole economy is being revived in present format. Hindutva is also revivalism, So when country is reviving the economic policy, whole economic policy, or where the dominant social force is reviving the old narrative, why not that hold true to Ambedkar also? And this is a very big question. It is not that easy uh, to respond or answer it. The present scenario is not conducive. Sometimes I feel the present scenario is not conducive, or the community is yet to be that yet to be yet to emerge as a very critical mass, which can uh, which can play the role, which can dare to or take pain to revive relevant ideas of Ambedkar in the present context. I feel we have not exercised our political agency to the extent it is possible. That is one main reason that we are not able to think along the line of Ambedkar, or we are not that passionate to bring his idea into public domain, or bring his ideas in the public discourse. And this is a very shortcoming, weakness on the part of Dalit intelligentsia. Remaining silent on key issues which matter us a lot in the present context are not talked about. This is one shortcoming, major shortcoming among the Dalit intelligentsia of the time, because sometimes I feel that we are so many, we have so many identities, we are yet to overcome, that identities. That is a big problem now, that is a big problem. So we are becoming victim to the narrative floated by some national parties or a dominant political force, for which we are not able to, focus more on uh, Ambedkar and so on. But he had the answer. The problem that we face today can be better understood, can be better responded if we apply, or if we inculcate some key ideas, including the idea of representation, which I talked now. So we have to be vocal. We have to be vocal. We have to be radical. Can you be vocal? Can you be that much radical? That is one question, because the present time the ecosystem is not conducive. This is what I think. But some people, I think there is already a case. Professor Karunyakara sir is taking the lead. So I think some people like him need to show the door, and others will join. Okay. So it is a matter of initiative. It is a matter of initiative. There are people who are similarly thinking along the line of Professor Ravi Kumar and Rishikesh. So it is matter of time. Some people should lead the race and others will join. How to ensure, Dr. Kiran, how to ensure accountability of MLAs and MPs who belong to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe? This is where the idea comes in a separate electoral system, So, as rightly said, that their representative, Dr. Arun Das, they are elected from the reserve constituency, but they more serve as a representative of the political party than the community for which they are elected. So we need to revisit the whole frame of representation in this context. So it is not simple to outrightly reject the idea of separate electorate, because separate electorate system actually ensure accountability. It ensures that the concern of your community, the problems of your community, grievances of your community will be better represented and understood by the representative of their own community. That was the whole thing. It actually talk about giving these people equal birth. It actually emphasized giving these people adequate representation. That was the sole reason separate electorate system was actually fought by Ambedkar. In the present context, there can be some mechanism. It is a matter of political will, not that this will go unattended, not that this will go unnoticed. Given the political will, the present problem that we see across the country, where everyone is saying that this system is not working perfectly, our representatives are not responding, not accountable to us, they are accountable to their political party. This is a voice all across the country now. Okay, we know this is a fact now. But this problem, not that cannot be addressed, it can be addressed if there is political will. Some mechanism can be devised for that, ensuring their accountability. And because as you know, that is very difficult at the moment. How to ensure accountability for this representative. So there is a limitation to that. I would say there is a limitation to that. Or you go for your own political party. As long as you are elected from their political party, the accountability mechanism will not be there. No. So maybe the people have to think of their own political party, own political force. So that particular aspect can be addressed. So in the past, the idea was gaining ground, definitely, the party, of course. But later now this is disintegrated. So there is some way out, but it is it depends on political will. What was your second question, Kiran?
What is exactly separate electoral area in Ambedkar context? Second question.
Actually, separate electoral system, it was not based on any principle. He said that the idea of separate electoral system is not based on any principle. It is based on consideration. Okay, there cannot be any universal principle to go for an idea of separate electoral system. No. So which part will be declared as separate electoral constituency, that has to be decided by the state, by the government. He prescribes some criteria. He prescribes some criteria. population, number of total seats, So it is not fixed. It varies from, it depends on the circumstances of the present time. So, but that was something possible also. But he has not made any such formula other than advising some norms to implement separate electoral system. So he emphasized population of the community along with the total number of seats. Okay, that was his, I think. Now I do not have full idea on this particular aspect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pankaj, I see your hand is raised, but Dr. Kiran, madam question was last. I'm really sorry because we have to conclude it now.
No, just give him an opportunity. Though we have closed the questions, let him ask the question. Yeah.
Pankaj, our chair give you permission, so I request you to be precise to the question only.
Yes, sir. मेरा नाम पंकज कुमार है, sir. I am concerned that sir, any scope for the double voting system, just sir, carried in the constitutional provision and according to the Ambedkar.
Pankaj,
double voting system, sir. Sir, any scope for the double voting system in the provision of constitution and Ambedkar vision?
He is talking about double voting system, something like that.
Yes, sir.
No, double voting system, yes, because in separate electorate system, Dalit will have to vote. Different class voters belonging to different classes will have two votes. One vote they will exercise it in the general constituency, and other vote they will exercise in the separate electorate constituency. So this is some kind of double voting, but this is only allowed to the different classes in separate electorate systems. These are not allowed for other general category people.
Yeah,
scope in the
Dr. Rishikesh, did you get your answer? Dr. Rishikesh,
Yes, sir,
from Nagaland University.
Yes, sir, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, Pankaj, what do you want to answer? Yeah, now we're going.
ये सर मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि सर क्या मतलब अभी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऐसा मतलब कि डबल वोटिंग सिस्टम तो इंडिया में लागू नहीं हुआ तो इन्हीं
Pankaj, we are getting late actually. Thank you for your good question. Akash, we go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. With the permission of chair, we are going to move our last part of our lecture. Now I request Shashikant Sambodhi to please give an official vote of thanks for today's lecture.
Thank you. On the behalf of Karunyakara Institute of Dalit Knowledge, it's a matter of immense pleasure for me to deliver a formal vote of thanks this session. First of all, our warm thanks and profound gratitude to Professor Lella Karunyakara sir, respected Dalit historian and Ambedkar thinker, for kindly chairing today's session. We are also truly thankful to Professor Sartik Bagh, Director Center for Study of Social Inclusion, BBAU Lucknow, for a visionary lecture on the topic Ambedkar on political representation. The lecture is both empowering and profoundly insightful. We thank you once again, sir. And I would like to thank Professor V.M. Ravi Kumar, sir, and Dr. S.J. Aruldas, sir, for their kind contribution to this session. Along with this, our sincere thanks to all the participants and attendees of the 41st online lecture in the KIDK lecture series. A special thanks to our coordinators, Dr. Sukeshni, Dr. Darshana, Dr. Smita, Mr. Akash Kobragade, Mr. Shreyat, Mr. Vijay for their continuous effort and support in making this session successful. This lecture series started on Ambedkar Jayanti 2025 continues to spread knowledge and new ideas in the field of Dalit studies. Thank you once again to everyone for your valuable participation. And before we close, please don't forget to subscribe to the Dalit Knowledge YouTube channel, where this recorded session will be uploaded soon. Jai Bhim. The session is over.